Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into a specific corner of enterprise AV technology today. We're talking about the kind of hardware that manages massive, really mission-critical video distribution. Forget your living room setup. This is more like the brain of a major command center or, a huge sports bar.
That's right. And our mission really is to take apart the logistics of high-volume video routing. Specifically, we're looking at the WolfPack 4K 30 Hz 32 by 32 HDMI Matrix Switcher, and importantly, its accompanying WolfPad tablet control system. We aren't just looking at the, impressive hardware itself. We're examining this kind of tension between industrial capacity and making it simple for the user.
Yeah, that tension is key. Our sources here are a mix. You get these highly detailed technical specs, but also product guides really focused on the user interface. So the central question we're trying to answer is this. How do you build a single piece of gear that can handle, 64 concurrent HD video paths? 32 in, 32 out, yeah. All right, 32 by 32.
Yeah.
Yet make it dead simple to operate. Like for someone who doesn't even carry a screwdriver.
Well, it's the synthesis challenge, isn't it? For AV professionals, I mean. They've kind of solved the problem of moving the pixels around reliably. Now they have to solve the problem of the people who control the pixels, making it easy for them.
Okay, let's start with the hardware itself then. The juggernaut, as you called it. 32 inputs, 32 outputs. That means, 32 separate HDMI sources, like Blu-ray players, satellite boxes, PCs.
Yeah, anything with HDMI out.
Connecting to 32 different screens. Monitors, TVs, projectors, whatever.
Exactly. And the sheer number is impressive, sure, but it's the flexibility that you're really paying for here. This matrix allows for genuinely flexible routing. You can take, say, input 1 and just blast it out to outputs 1 through 32 simultaneously. Get a uniform display across the whole place.
Okay, like for a big announcement or something.
Right. Or you could send 32 completely unique inputs to 32 unique outputs. Think about maybe a trading floor or a dense control room where every single screen needs different data.
That flexibility sounds critical. But let's get under the hood a bit, the technical specs. When you're managing that many signals, what are the technical limits, especially around quality? What do we need to know?
Okay, yeah, we need to be specific here. The sources, they state the Matrix supports resolutions up to 4K UHD. But, and this is important, it's capped at a 30 Hz refresh rate, and it uses 4.2.0 color subsampling.
4.2.0. Okay.
Now, for our listener, that 4.2.0 is the key detail. It means the chroma, the color information, it's transmitted at half the spatial resolution of the luminance, the brightness.
Wait, isn't 4.2.0 kind of an older standard? I mean,
Yeah.
you often see it with lower bandwidth stuff or streaming compression. Less common than, say, 4.4.4 in high-end gear now. Why would enterprise hardware choose that specific limitation?
That's a great question. It's a critical point, actually. It strongly suggests the unit is built on HDMI 1.4, which the specs confirm, by the way. It's HDMI 1.4 and HDCP 1.4 compliant. The choice, well, it likely reflects bandwidth management when you're wrangling 64 high-speed data paths all at once.
Yeah, that's a lot of data.
Using the 4K at 30 Hz, 4.2.0 standard lets you maximize the number of channels you can support reliably. Within the existing swishing architecture, it probably keeps costs and complexity down compared to trying to push uncompressed 4K at 60 Hz with 4.4.4 everywhere. So it's a trade-off, optimized for capacity and, crucially, stability.
Got it. So stability over the absolute bleeding edge of visual fidelity. Makes sense in those environments. And speaking of stability, or maybe speed, one detail that jumped out was the switching time.
Yes. For a system managing this level of complexity, the source claims a remarkably fast 1-second switching time. And that's really crucial in places like, say, live broadcast, or even just a busy sports bar during a commercial break. Nobody wants to stare at a black screen.
No, definitely not. Okay, now let's talk reliability. This ties right into maintenance, doesn't it? Because the system isn't just one massive monolithic box, right? Which seems like a huge advantage out in the field.
Absolutely. The architecture is built around a modular design. They call it a chassis and 4-port card structure. So you have the main card cage, right? And then it holds 8 input cards, each with 4 ports.
32 inputs?
And 8 output cards. Again, 4 ports each.
32 outputs. Got it.
And this modular approach, it isn't just tidy, it's a massive financial and logistical win.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting for the people actually installing and maintaining this stuff. So if I have a signal issue on, say, output 12, I don't have to power everything down and ship this huge 32 by 32 chassis back to the factory.
You absolutely don't. The critical benefit, the real selling point of this design is uptime. If a signal fails, you track the problem down to one specific 4-port card. You pop that card out, put a new one in, probably takes minutes, and the matrix is back to full operational capacity. It dramatically lowers the mean time to recovery, MTTR, and it avoids that huge logistical nightmare, not to mention the cost, of shipping massive, heavy equipment back and forth. It shifts the replacement costs from, potentially thousands for the whole unit down to maybe hundreds for just a single card.
Okay, that modularity is a huge plus. So we've established this is robust, highly technical modular hardware, a real piece of professional kit.
Yeah.
Now let's pivot. A system this complex, usually you'd need a dedicated AV engineer on hand, right? Which brings us to the control solution. This is where it gets different.
That's exactly the pivot point, yeah. I mean, picture this. It's Saturday night, right? The place is absolutely packed. The big game just switched channels unexpectedly. Who is responsible for routing input 4, the main game feed, to outputs 1 through 20, all the main TVs? Traditionally, only someone trained in, RS232 serial commands or maybe complex network routing could handle that reliably under pressure.
Right, not the person pouring the drinks.
Exactly. But the WolfPack, it addresses this head-on with the IP WolfPad system, the tablet control.
That shift from maybe a command line or a complex web interface to just a tablet, that feels revolutionary for this kind of gear. And the product description, it's incredibly specific about who the target user is for this WolfPad tablet control.
Oh, yeah, they leave nothing to chance there. They explicitly state it's for people without a technical knowledge. And the roles they list: sports bar owners, waitresses, hostesses, bartenders, even DJs. They are clearly optimizing the workflow for staff whose main job is customer service, not messing with AV infrastructure.
And the core motivation they mention. It's so relatable for any business owner dealing with complex tech. They want to ensure the sports bar owner is never called at home to troubleshoot the matrix. That one phrase just tells you everything about the business pain point they're solving. It's about peace of mind.
And solving that pain point, well, it has a ripple effect, doesn't it? The sources actually link this ease of use directly to improved employee morale. Because the staff isn't fighting with complicated machinery, it's basically a direct ROI argument. Make it simple, staff are happier, management spends less time troubleshooting, lower overhead.
Okay, but let's challenge that simplicity claim for a second. We're still talking about controlling a 32 by 32 switch. They claim users can learn to operate in 2 minutes. I mean, come on, that sounds a bit like marketing fluff, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How do they actually achieve that?
Well, the reality is they achieve it by removing all the abstract logic from the user's view. It's entirely graphical, touchscreen based. So instead of the user thinking, okay, I need to select input 4, then route it to outputs 1 through 32 minutes.
Which involves knowing which input is which outputs are where.
Right. Instead of that, the staff member is just pressing a big friendly button labeled maybe Game 7 on all main TVs. It completely abstracts the underlying matrix routing. They focus entirely on the outcome they want, not the complex technical steps needed to get there.
Okay. So the simplicity comes from abstracting the complexity away, hiding the why, and just giving them the how via simple buttons. But there's a crucial detail for deployment, though. While it's tablet-based, the actual iPad is not supplied, right? Not included.
Correct. That's a pretty standard caveat in this space. They provide the software, the control infrastructure, the box that sends the signals, but they rely on the client, the bar or venue, to supply the actual iPad or tablet, which, also lets the client choose their preferred device to some extent.
Okay. So beyond just switching inputs and outputs on the matrix, what else does this WolfPad thing integrate? It sounds like it might be managing more of the viewing experience, not just the core switching.
Exactly. This is where the ecosystem approach really comes in. The WolfPad handles not just the matrix routing, but also control of the specific source devices that actually change the channels. Your DirecTV box, your DISH receiver, your cable boxes.
Okay, that's the crucial integration point then.
Totally. So the staff presses one button, maybe it says, put news channel on the patio TVs. And the system does 2 things at once. It tells the DirecTV box or whatever to change its channel to the news. And it tells the matrix to route that newly tuned signal to the specific output ports connected to the patio displays, all from one button press.
Wow, that streamlined process, changing the source channel and the routing simultaneously, that really is the definition of efficiency, especially in a busy, high-pressure place like a bar.
Yeah.
And the control architecture, you mentioned it's actually built to handle more devices than just the 32 outputs on this specific matrix.
Yeah, it seems scalable. The documentation says the control system supports up to 64 TVs. That's double the core unit's output capacity. And it can handle up to 24 sources, specifically when it's managing those channel changers we talked about. So that suggests the control software is probably designed to maybe manage multiple interconnected matrices or perhaps integrate easily with other downstream distribution gear. It's built with growth in mind.
And from the user experience side, the customization sounds pretty powerful too. The sources mentioned the interface usually uses just one tablet page, keeps it simple, allows for custom button design, and, this sounds cool, lets users see your floor plan.
Yeah, that floor plan visualization, that is brilliant design, honestly. Staff don't have to memorize TV number 17 or output 23. They just look at a simple map of their venue on the tablet. They tap the section they want to change, say the mezzanine or the bar back, and see the results instantly. This kind of spatial mapping really reinforces that 2-minute learning claim, and it probably cuts down on human error drastically.
Makes sense.
And importantly, it also supports modern streaming devices via IR control, things like Apple TVs, Roku, Fire Sticks, which makes it pretty future-proof as viewing habits change, even in commercial spaces.
Right, okay, if we look at the sort of financial architecture of this control system, what hardware supports the WolfPad ecosystem? And what are the ongoing costs? People always want to know that.
Sure, so the physical control is IR-based, infrared, and it requires their specific hardware, the WolfPad Tablet Rack 2U mount controller. That's the box that actually blasts out the IR signals to the cable boxes in the matrix. And the system deployment itself sounds streamlined. They mention a WolfPad remote tablet installer over the cloud, so maybe easier setup. But the major financial incentive, especially for businesses thinking about budget, is the absolute clarity. No monthly or yearly fees are required for the control system.
Oh, that's huge.
It really is. In a world where everything seems to be moving to a subscription model, having a fixed cost control system like this is a massive budget stabilizer for these kinds of large venues. You buy it, you own it, you use it.
Good point. And what if an installation needs to push that 4K signal further than standard HDMI cables allow? What about distance limitations?
Yeah, standard problem. The system supports optional expansion using HDMI extenders, typically over City6 network cabling. These allow the signals to travel much further, the spec says, up to 360 feet. And crucially, these extenders also reliably carry the IR control signals back and forth. So the WolfPad can still communicate with the source devices even if they're located far away from the main matrix rack.
Oh, okay. Makes sense. They've thought about the whole signal chain. Let's pull back then, look at the bigger picture for the professional listener, the integrator, the AV tech. We started in the sports bar example, but this hardware is clearly built for serious resilience. What kind of professional context really benefits most from this combination, this synthesis of complexity and simplicity?
Well, it's really designed for any high-stakes environment where video routing is critical, but maybe having a dedicated, highly trained operator on site 24/7 isn't feasible or cost-effective. So think broadcast control rooms, definitely. Major corporate command centers, university auditoriums, large-scale government AV systems, places where you need that enterprise-level reliability and density of the 32x32 matrix, but you also need the ability for less technical staff to make routine changes quickly and easily using that simplified front end, the WolfPad.
And the sources mention a couple of other highly technical features that really signal its readiness for those professional deployments. EDID management and TAA compliance. Let's quickly define those because they can be non-negotiables in certain environments, right?
Absolutely. So EDID management. EDID stands for Extended Display Identification Data. It's crucial because it lets you manage the communication handshake between the source device, like a player, and the display, the TV or projector. Essentially, it allows you to customize or force the display settings. So your brand new 4K TV and maybe your older 1080p source can actually talk to each other properly without errors or black screens. It helps guarantee compatibility, which is essential when you're mixing and matching potentially dozens of different sources and displays.
Right, avoids those frustrating compatibility headaches.
Yeah.
Okay, and TAA compliance.
TAA stands for the Trade Agreements Act. TAA compliance means the product is manufactured or substantially transformed in the U.S. or another TAA-designated country. For many of our listeners, especially those working on U.S. government contracts, military installations, things like that, TAA compliance is often a mandatory procurement requirement. So seeing that certification tells you this isn't just a consumer product scaled up. It's certified and ready for rigorous, professional, even government use cases.
It's fascinating, though, isn't it? Because the modular hardware design, the ED management, the TAA compliance, these are all features aimed squarely at the technical pro, the integrator, the AV manager. But the entire product seems to be sold, marketed on the back of the WolfPad, which is designed specifically for the bartender, the hostess, the non-expert.
That's the core insight, I think. You've nailed it. This product, yes, it successfully manages high-volume, high-stakes signal routing. It has the professional specs. But its truly defining feature, the thing that makes it stand out, arguably isn't its resolution or its port count. It's the ability to take that complex act of switching dozens of inputs and outputs and turn it into a simple, maybe even genuinely 2-minute task for the front-of-house staff. It aims to reduce specialized labor costs and minimize errors in those critical customer-facing viewing environments.
Excellent synthesis. So, okay, to summarize the key takeaways for everyone listening, the WolfPack system seems to be this powerful marriage of high-end technical specs, 32 by 32 routing, 4K at 30 Hz support, that crucial modular hardware design for reliability, married with a genuinely revolutionary non-technical control interface in the WolfPad tablet system. It really feels like an enterprise solution engineered specifically to eliminate the need for constant enterprise expertise during day-to-day operation.
Right. And this raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to maybe chew on a bit after this. If highly specialized, complex B2B hardware, like a 32 by 32 Matrix Switcher, is now being engineered specifically to remove the need for a dedicated technical operator, making basic operation a 2-minute task for general staff, what does that imply about the long-term career path? And maybe the required skill sets for AV technicians and specialized IT staff who traditionally manage these kinds of systems day in, day out. Is this trend towards rapid deployment and super simplified operation fundamentally changing the labor structure needed for high-end AV infrastructure? Something to think about.
Definitely food for thought. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.